live, YouTube is live, Facebook, God knows, probably. Awesome. We have some water. And apologies for being so late today. Codex was filling up my whole hard drive because it was running up like 10 different servers. So I had to spend the morning fixing that, plus been doing some other work. So I'm going to be kicking off. Fantastic. Right to there. That should be fine. Got Rob's tweet there. Drop that down. Awesome. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Kyle. This is AI with Kyle, and it is Monday, the 13th of July. We are going to be talking about probably one of the most talked about topics this week is the constant battle between OpenAI and Anthropic. So it feels a lot like mum and dad are fighting. We have two divorced parents who are fighting over our affections, and us in the middle, the consumers, we have been given a pony because mum and dad want to show us they love us the most. That's what it feels like right now. Currently, OpenAI, the creators of ChatGPT, and Anthropic, the creators of Claude, are knives out battling for our affection and our love. And it's wonderful because on our side, it means we get lots of free, cool stuff on our subscriptions. So we just heard last night, much to the chagrin of a lot of people who were not expecting it, we just heard that we got Fable 5 extended once again. So it's been extended through to July the 19th, I think, to give them time to release Opus 5, but we'll talk about that in a moment. Immediately, about 57 minutes later, 57 minutes and 53 seconds later, Thibaut from ChatGPT Codex reset all of our limits, removed the 5-hour usage, and basically said, go nuts, which was fantastic for me because I thought and predicted that they would do this, and I managed to burn down half of my week's allowance in a couple of hours before this dropped and I got my ChatGPT reset. So it's great for us consumers, but let's have a look at what's going on and why this is actually important. So this has been happening for the last couple of months. Claude and ChatGPT have been at each other's throats trying to pull people away from one platform to the next. And if you spend any time on social media, you know that people are always arguing about which is the best. This is kind of what they want. Now, this is primarily for people who are coding. So if you're using Claude Code or if you're using Codex, this is a battle that is happening for you at the moment because that is where they make more of their money through API subscriptions. This is less about using the chat. Anthropic don't actually want normal chat users. They want power users. They want coders. So that said, this is shaping the whole industry right now. And they're going back and forward, trading blows, resetting, adding new models, competing with each other, which is all fantastic for us as the consumers because competition means everything gets better for us all of the time. The reason why Anthropic, I believe, have just extended Fable for the second time is they are in a really bad position. If they pull Fable, which is currently one of the best models, if not the best model on Earth, if they pull it from the subscription, they arguably go down to third place in the race. When Fable first came out, they were at the top. Opus 4.8 was the best model, and Fable was even better. So this was only 2-3 weeks ago. Anthropic were on top of the world. A lot has changed in 2 or 3 weeks. We had the release of GPT 5.6, the Soul mode, which I love, and I'm using a massive amount of it right now, and I find it a fantastic model. And as you can see on a lot of the benchmarks, they're basically neck and neck. GPT 5.6 and Fable are pretty much the same thing. This is according to artificial analysis. However, there's also Grok 4.5, a new entrant that I did not think was going to be a problem, is nipping at the heels of Opus 4.8. This means if Anthropic remove Fable from their subscription plan, they don't only lose first place because GPT takes the crown, they also risk falling into third place behind Grok, which would be a massive embarrassment for Anthropic. So I think this is why they are continuing to push the plans. They're continuing to extend out, at least until they get Opus 5 ready. And I think we're going to see Opus 5 probably this week, or considering the Fable extension is until the 19th of July, I think we might see it about the 20th or the 21st of July. That is my expectation at the moment. And if they don't have Opus 5 ready, they will continue to extend Fable. Speculation, but I think fair in this case. And why is this such a big deal? Why do we care if Fable is on our subscription or not? Well, if it comes off the subscription, we're going to have to pay per token. We have to use the API instead. And just as an example, one day about a month ago, so I think it was the 14th of June, just as one example, anecdotally, I burnt around 1 billion tokens. I think it was 940 million tokens on Codex. It's a lot of tokens, and I'm not even a coder. If I was to run that level of tokens, that level of usage through a model like Codex, depending if they're input or output tokens, this would have cost me somewhere between a minimum of $10,000 for one day or a maximum of maybe $50,000 for a day. So what is happening is, because Fable is on our subscriptions and we're paying $100, $200, $20, we are getting subsidized usage. As soon as it comes off the subscription, we're going to have to pay the API price for that level of intelligence, and it's going to cost us potentially thousands per day to run that level of intelligence. That's a problem. Now, this is just one anecdotal example, and I am not a coder, so it's a lot worse for people who are using this in production. And now that ChatGPT has come along with 5.6, which is very, very, very good, it's also cheaper. Fable's in a really bad position to move it off the subscription, especially with Grok also pushing at their heels as well, because Grok 4.5 is unexpectedly very, very good. So that means, and you've probably seen a lot of people doing this, a lot of people have been getting as much usage out of Fable as they possibly can. They are making hay while the sun is shining. They are also using ChatGPT as much as possible because the Codex resets just keep on hitting because of the threat of Fable. Because Anthropic and OpenAI are fighting, that's fantastic for us. So just for one example, there's a guy called Rob, British guy. He kept buying new accounts. He kept buying new Fable accounts at $200 a month. I think he has 4 Fable accounts at $200, so $800 per month, so that he can build businesses, so that he can build product, so that he can improve what he's doing and generate an income off his artificial intelligence before they put that behind the API, because that will cost him tens of thousands of dollars per day. So yes, he's spending $800 a day, per month, but that's much, 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 much less than a potentially hundreds of thousands that he'd be spending on the API. Just a quick update on Rob though, because he's running 4 different accounts. I saw this morning that he actually managed to hospitalize himself. So this is poor Rob. He says, I'm done with this. I'm done with them effing with us. Ended up in hospital because of stress. Stayed up all night, pushed my limits too hard, thinking it would be removed, thinking that Fable was going to be taken away, and then being told once again by Anthropic, no, actually, you've got an extra week. So he was pushing himself, and I think he actually had a panic attack. He says, to be clear, the AI model didn't put me in the hospital. When a tool that is core to your work and the limits keep shifting with no warning, and a lot of people are accusing Anthropic of poor communication here, you fall into a binge work cycle whenever access opens up. That got me. Most of my tasks are done now, taking a few days slower. Had panic attack style syndromes because of stress. And this is happening in my WhatsApp group as well. I have a private WhatsApp group. It's about 100 people in there. And every time there's a Fable reset, everybody drops what they're doing and rushes back to continuing to build and create using these new tools. I was up until about 11 p.m. last night myself, working on Codex, knowing that Codex was going to be reset because of the Fable reset. And I was correct about that. So you've probably seen a lot of people acting seemingly irrational, and they are building as much as possible. And you're probably wondering, what the hell are they doing? It's because we want to use the rented intelligence, the intelligence that we're spending $20, $100, $200 a month on. We want to use that rented intelligence to get permanent leverage moving forward. So there's this idea that kind of floats around Silicon Valley of the permanent underclass. Basically, if you do not get on board with artificial intelligence now, if you do not carve out a business, if you do not carve out a product and incomes, a space for yourself right now, you're in a lot of trouble moving forward, because the people who use AI to carve something out for themselves will go to the absolute moon. The people who do not, and instead decide, oh, I'm not going to use AI, or I don't trust it, they're not going to pick up the skills that they need, and life is going to become harder and harder and harder for them. So there's this idea of, you have a limited amount of time, 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, to build something that is going to allow you to get yourself out of the permanent underclass. And this is what someone like Rob Hallam is doing. I think Rob Hallam is making 10,000 a month, so he's doing all right. No, I'm sorry, he's making 22,000 a month, so he's doing very well. But this is because he doesn't want to be caught in this trap and end up in the permanent underclass, unable to get out of this. And this is what we are potentially going to see. And this is a bit of a doomerist perspective, but something called the K-shaped economy, where if we're starting right now here, you can go in two different directions. You could have access to these tools like Fable, ChatGPT, Soul 5.6, and you can use that to build assets, businesses, products, services, websites, whatever it is. You build and build and build. Those assets are going to give you income, so you have money flowing in the case of Rob Hallam, $20,000 a month, which allows you to buy access to more artificial intelligence. Because remember, right now it's subsidized. So we are using it at a very low cost compared to what it's costing the labs to provide that inference to us for. So when we pay $200 a month for Fable, that might seem like a lot from an individual point of view, but you're getting thousands of dollars worth of intelligence, and you can use that to build something that cash flow you hundreds, if not thousands of dollars moving forward. So that cash then allows you to have more access, and it allows you to retain access. So the rich will get richer and richer because they can continue to use the better artificial intelligences moving forward. So this is the upward side of the K-shaped economy. This is the side that you want to be on. On the lower side, the downward leg of the K, these are people who don't necessarily have access, or they have access to artificial intelligence, but they don't want to use it. They're like, no, I don't want to use it. It uses all the water, or whatever the argument is, they can't fit. It steals from artists. I'm not going to use it. I hate it. The problem is they don't necessarily skill up. They are unable to build a business, or unable to build product, or then able to generate an income. Potentially, their jobs will cease to exist because 9-to-5 jobs are not in a great place and probably going to get worse. And that means they are therefore unable to, even if they want to later, purchase access to artificial intelligence. If a few years down the line, they're like, oh shit, I should have done this a while ago. I need to start a business. I'm going to use AI to do it. And then suddenly at that point, the access is $1,000 a month. For the people on the upward trajectory of the K curve, yeah, no problem. $1,000 a month, that's fine. I can make 20. I can make 30. So $1,000 a month is nothing. For the people on the lower end, that means they are now priced out of being able to use this intelligence. This is why everybody is building in a frenzy right now, because they want to get on this upward trajectory, build something that gives them cash so they can sustain and continue on that path instead of ending up in the permanent underclass. So what do you do? How do you actually get on with this? Your first job is to build something. If you have never built anything before, you're going to go and download Codex. It is free, or you can get a $20 a month subscription. I would recommend $20 a month. If you can afford it, go higher, 100, 200, that gives you a lot more access, but $20 is fine because I keep resetting usage. And you are going to talk to Codex and you will ask it to build something for you. Very, very simple. You do not need to be able to code. You do not need to be able to read JavaScript or Python or anything like that. It can hide all of that from you. You don't even have to look at it. You can talk to it with a microphone. That's how I do most of my building. I will see what it's given me, look at the examples, look at the design, and I will give feedback. We'll work back and forth like that. And you're just going to build something. For your first project, build something that's a toy project, just to prove to yourself that you can build a piece of software, that you can build something that you could sell. You could build a business. That's all you're going to do initially for the first one. Then you're going to work out what it is you can sell to the market. Now, that's obviously a more complicated topic. If you go to AI with Kyle, this is my website, I have many free guides about this. So in the catalog, there's about 200 different playbooks. And in the courses, there's a 10-week course walking you through how you can start your first business using AI. Totally free. You don't even need an email to sign up for that. So there's plenty of information out there. Plenty. But just start building. You have to start somewhere. And if you are a little bit ahead, focus on monetization. Focus on building something that you can sell, that you can get out into the market, so you can begin this upward trajectory on the K side, K-shaped economy, rather than going down and down and down, because AI is going to get more expensive, at least in the short term. The second thing you can do is if you have got a handle on artificial intelligence, if you know how to build, if you know how to use AI, if you know how it works, if you know how helpful it can be for other people, go and teach them. It behooves you. It's almost a moral obligation to help these people work out how to use it as well. Because if you don't, your loved ones, your community, the people around you, your friends, they're going to end up on this downward trajectory where AI is going to take their jobs, but also become so expensive that they cannot use AI to build something themselves. So they have a limited amount of time to get on this upward curve and to build something using artificial intelligence while it is affordable, which is right now extremely time sensitive. You've probably got 6 months, so you need to move on this. And this is not me being a doomer. This is not me pushing you in a particular direction. If you don't move now, 2 years down the line, I think you're going to regret it. That's the only issue. So you're going to help people. You're going to teach them how to use artificial intelligence. I'm actually giving a webinar on Wednesday. It's a free webinar. You can sign up at aiwithkyle.com/webinar, talking about how you can go and teach businesses about AI, because you can personally do very well for this, because every business on earth is wondering what the hell we do with AI. And if you can go and show them, you can get paid $1,000, $2,000. I get paid $4,000 per hour to go and teach workshops. So that's at aiwithkyle.com. That is /webinar. That is one way to make money from this current boom. But you also need to build. You have to create, because you need to get yourself in this upward trajectory and get yourself generating income with artificial intelligence before it becomes expensive, before you're forced into the potential of the permanent underclass. And we don't have long. Until then, though, whilst they're fighting, whilst Claude and ChatGPT are at each other's throats, like two divorced parents fighting for our loves, and do what you can, build what you can, because we're getting resets every single day. We have some more news, like here's a new model, or here's a reset, or have some more usage, or here's an extension. It's fantastic if you are building. Yes, it's stressful and it ends you up in hospital if you're anything like Rob Hallam here. But if you can balance this and build something, you can secure your future over the next year. And I highly recommend you do so before it is too late. I'm going to switch over to some questions now. Again, I'm giving a webinar, on Wednesday, about how to make $1,000 an hour teaching AI to businesses. Businesses really need this stuff because they don't know what they're doing and they need help from somebody who does. So it's live on Wednesday, the 15th of July. I do realize this is during the football if you're in the UK. It is what it is. But if you're not in the UK or you don't care about English football, then you're good to go. So how to make $1,000 an hour teaching AI to business. That is going to be at aiwithkyle.com/webinar. How much do you earn doing this per month? Doing what? Sorry. Teaching webinars, or I have maybe 5 or 6 different income sources. And they will make varying amounts of money, but enough to do extremely well. Sounds like that's on Rob. Yeah, he needs to chill. Yeah, Rob overworked himself, unfortunately. He's also, he did end up in hospital, but he's also very good at viral posts. This is, it's got 3.5 million views, so I respect the hustle, but I hope he's looking after himself. What are they even building? Rob has built something called SuperX, superx.so. So it's a social media posting platform for X in particular. So he's making about $20,000 to $25,000 a year on this. What's that? So $250,000 as a one-person team. He's built this using artificial intelligence. He was not a coder before, but he's built something that is valuable, that is useful. He's worked out how to market it, and therefore he's making about $250,000. I imagine that is all, or pretty much all, profit as well. Especially when you're building lean, when it's one person and your Claude Code subscription, that's just pure profit afterwards, because you're not paying for workers, you're not paying for an office. He's on a laptop. I believe he's living in Vietnam right now, at least based on that hospital chart that I just saw. Yep, that's Vietnam. So whilst $250,000 might not be a much for a big business, it's a small amount of money. It's what they'd make it a week probably. For an individual, one dude called Rob, making that kind of money and basically banking all of it, that's life-changing money, which is really cool. I'd happily teach for profit. So businesses, go and teach businesses for profit because they pay extremely well. And the key for teaching businesses is you need to dig into what your industry background is, your past. If you've been working in a particular industry for years, you are able to translate and interpret why they need to pay attention to AI. So I worked in marketing for years. So when I go and give workshops to businesses, I go and talk to their marketing departments. And I talk to marketing agencies as well. So the key is to become the translator, the person who can help them with that. So you don't need to teach out the goodness of your heart. You can teach because you get paid very, very well. I charge about $2,500 to $4,000 per hour. So it's 1 hour. If it's a multiple hour workshop, it's less per hour, but I can still walk home with, $5,000, which is not bad for half a day's work. And you can do it online as well. So you don't even need to go anywhere, which is cool. Can you post the details of the webinar here? Yes, I think I can. aiwithkyle.com/webinar. It will be on Wednesday, 6 p.m. UK time. If you can't make it though, there's a recording. You just need to sign up for the webinar and we send out the recording the day after. Any idea on the limitations of Claude $90 a month subscription? So I'm on 200. 90 will get you somewhere. But you are going to run into limitations using Fable in particular. So you can use 50% of your subscription on Fable. At $200, I mean, if I spin up a couple of threads, I run out of Fable usage, my 5-hour usage, in 20 minutes, maybe. This is with subagents, so obviously it's using a lot more. If you're just asking questions, if you're just talking to the AI, then you can have multiple turns. It's as soon as you start to spin up subagents. So what ideally you need to do is you have Fable for the big hairy tasks. Let me put it up. Here we go. This was the other day. You use Fable for the big tasks in a planner mode, so it becomes the orchestrator, the strategizer, and then you pass off to less intelligent, cheaper models for the actual implementation. So I pass personally to Codex with GPT 5.6. So I use Fable to do all the planning, then I pass it to ChatGPT. You can also plan with Fable and then pass the work to Opus, which is inside of Claude Code as well. So that's the best way to save your limit, because at $100 a month and £90 a month, you're going to hit the limits pretty quickly. Also, I would say if you're doing that now, you've only got 6 days of Fable left. It's still worth the £100. It's probably the highest leverage £100 you could ever spend, honestly. Just to spend the next week working with Fable to work out what the hell to do. So if you want to start a business, chat with Fable back and forward, get it in interview you, get it to help you work out what you should be doing with your life, basically, and it works fantastically for that. So I have a second brain. Let me just pull it up here. I have a second brain, and I basically gave everything in it to Fable and said, what am I missing? What am I doing wrong? What can I do better? How can I make more money? How can I balance my life? How can I not burn out? And it was able to rip through everything that I do. This includes all my emails, all my calendar, all my Slack messages to my business, etc. And it was able to use that to build up a behavioral picture and to help me to work out what I should be doing moving forward. But it's a big question, like what kind of questions should you ask models like this? I've also put this on aiwithkyle.com. There's another guide which is about, hey, how do we increase our imagination? How do we ask better questions? Because these models can now do pretty much anything we ask of them, so we need to up our game and upgrade what it is we're asking. Otherwise, we're not going to get good uses from that. But the limitation is, what you can do is start on 20 or start on 100 and use it. And then if you start hitting walls and it's too annoying for you, just upgrade. So you can pay the difference to upgrade to the next level. And at least for the next week, it's a high leverage investment in yourself. That said, GPT 5.6, the Soul model in Ultra, very good, very, very good. I'm not going to say it's as good as Fable, but they're both pretty much there. It's much for muchness, and I would say it's more a difference in style. So with Soul 5.6 from ChatGPT, I find I'm going back and forward a lot more with it. Whereas with Fable, I'll give it a question. It would be like, okay, cool. And it would disappear for an hour. And then it would come back and it would be like, here is your answer. And generally it's right. Whereas with ChatGPT, it tends to be a lot more back and forth. So it kind of depends how you prefer to work as well. But it is very good. And it is much cheaper than using Fable because you can use it on the $20 a month and still get decent limits. And it's going to stay on the subscription, unlike Fable, which is coming off subscription maybe possibly next week. But it's all up in the air. Right. Again, I'm giving a workshop. I'm giving a webinar on workshops. I always mix this up. Giving a webinar on how to give workshops to businesses. It's going to be on Wednesday. I think we've got about 30 or 40 RSVP'd already. Hopefully we'll have a lot more on the day. Talking about how you go and teach inside of businesses and get paid very well for doing so. So I'm going to be talking about the demand, why businesses are willing to spend so much on it, how you reconfigure how you think about it. So you're not thinking about an hour of your time and how much you should get paid, because most people are like, oh, my time is worth $50 or $100 an hour, or what's minimum wage, £12 an hour or whatever. Most of us are used to thinking like that. Instead, we need to think about the number of people in the room and how many people we can educate at a time. And that's why workshops are so powerful. Because if there's 100 people in the room and you're charging $1,000, that is only $10 per person per hour, which is suddenly very, 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 very cheap. Very cheap to the people who are organizing it. So it gives you leverage. You are able to talk to more people, therefore you're able to charge more. Whereas if you're doing one-to-one consultation and advisory, it's very difficult to charge $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 per hour. It's not impossible. 100% you can do it. But with workshops, it's a much easier way to get into it, because you just talk to larger groups and you charge much larger amounts of money. So I'm going to be talking about that, the kind of economics and how it works. I'm going to be talking about what level of AI knowledge you need. And it's much lower than you think. In fact, having too much knowledge actually gets in the way of communicating to people about why they need to pay attention and what they should be using AI for. If you go in and you start talking technical stuff, gradient descent, backpropagation, etc., everyone's going to shut down. So you need to go in and be able to explain and communicate to them why AI is important, help them break through any psychological blocks and barriers they have, because it doesn't matter how intellectual your discussion is. If you don't get through to the emotional, it's not going to matter. And then finally, I talk in this webinar that I'm giving about how you get your first client. How do you actually find people who are going to pay you $1,000 an hour to give them workshops? So I'll be covering all of that. It's a free webinar. It's on Wednesday, 6 p.m. UK time. If you cannot make it, because I know the football's on, then still sign up and we'll send you the recording after the fact as well. So aiwithkyle.com/webinar to join up there. Hopefully see a few more of you there. If not, I will be back for another live on Wednesday. And all of these lives go onto aiwithkyle.com, the website. You can read basically what we covered on the live stream and get that delivered directly to your inbox as well. So hopefully that's been useful. And off you go. Go and build. It's time to build, because we have 1 week of Fable left before it gets extremely expensive. 1 week to get out of the permanent underclass. Go to it. Thanks, guys. Still here.